Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a bit of a show and tell. I'll do a follow-up video on this in a couple of weeks, but I wanted to get this out there because I have a box here. Box is from Thunderbird Gear over in Bolton, Ontario. You want to go give those guys a look, especially if you're here in Canada. Um, in this box, I have what could be the next big thing. This, I believe, is going to be one of those knives that everyone is clamoring for. I have already opened it, but I thought I would open it again and just give you guys a little bit of anticipation. So Arno-Bernard knives is what we're looking at. Before we get there, just let me say, if you order from Thunderbird Gear, Steve really hooks you up. I actually really like these little field notes books. I use mine for a lot of different things. I'm going to get that stuff out of the way. I'm going to get the box out of the way, and I'm going to show you a spectacular knife. Okay, so Arno-Bernard has done high-end fixed blades, and they've had a slip joint for a while, but they've wanted to sort of enter the, we've got a Hank in here. I'm going to move that out of the way as well, but they've wanted to enter like the modern folder category, I guess, or space. And this is the knife that they're doing it with, which you can take a look at right here. There is a lanyard. I'm not going to attach this. Sadly, guys, this knife is already sold. If it wasn't, I would probably be trying to buy it right now, even though I cannot afford it. Let me clean my fingerprints off there. What you're looking at is the Arno-Bernard Knives Imamba. Really, really spectacular. As I said, I've had a chance to look over this just a little, and just let me give you a quick rundown and especially hit on the stuff that I really, really appreciate. So right here we have a blade of RWL 34 steel. You can see the stock thickness is a pretty moderate thickness, really nicely crowned spine, and then I love that they've broken the crown spine here to give me a little bit of a thumb ramp with a little bit of jimping. That's pretty light jimping. Next thing, hollow ground. So you guys know about my love of hollow grinds, and just check out, I will say this is hand done work by Arno-Bernard in South Africa, and they have done a spectacular job with this blade. Really, really good. The grind itself is fantastic. The action is nice, but I want to show you the next thing that I love about the blade before we move on to the rest of the knife. What they've got here is sort of a modified nail nick. They've just kind of ground into this, and it gives me a really nice spot to roll this knife open with my thumb, but I can also spidey flick it. So that to me is a huge win. And it's one of the nicest ways, you know, they haven't gone all the way through the blade. As I say, it's sort of a modified nail nick. Like, it's got that slope leading into it. Just fantastic. Really, really nice. From the standpoint of someone who likes to, you know, fidget with their knives a little, this is really, really good. Now, moving on to the action, this is a flipper. So in addition to that nail nick, which is already my favorite way to deploy the knife, you've also got this flipper. It tends to work best in a push button, more so than a light switch. It is on bearings, and the action is quite enjoyable. All right, you can kind of see that there. Obviously, what we're looking at is a titanium frame with a standoff. These do ship, there's a lanyard hole here and a standoff. So these do ship with a little lanyard. Quickly show you that. And so, you know, it would just be a matter of looping that through. I'm not going to do it. As I said, this is already sold. So Steve over at Thunderbird Gear talked to me about sending one of these along. I said, yeah, I'd love to take a look at one. I was pretty excited, in fact, to get it in hand. And I'm still excited, and I'm super glad that I've had this opportunity. But sadly, this knife is already sold. If you want one of these, there is a pre-order that you can get in on over at Thunderbird Gear for June. You do have to pay the whole thing up front. There will be some US retailers that are getting these, I think, in the next few weeks, so you may be able to find one that way. But for now, these are going to be pretty hard to come by. And that's truly sad because these are spectacular. They really, really are. And I will say it's definitely worth putting in the time and energy to get your hands on one. They feel really, really good. And by the way, this one happens to have mammoth molar for the inlay, which, look at that, totally amazing. Just a beautiful knife all the way around. Now, for me, the Mammoth Molar, I think, is like the top of the pricing chart, so I probably wouldn't be going for this particular model just because I like to buy knives that I feel pretty comfortable using and carrying, and when it gets to like 700 US dollars, that's outside of that range. They do have some other variations available that are a little bit cheaper, and I've talked to Steve, and he's going to touch base with them, and hopefully they will come available in just a plain standard Thai version, or perhaps even a micarta version. I'll mention both of those to him. And if it would be possible to get this in plain Thai for a slightly lower price point, I think that would be really, really attractive to a lot of people, certainly myself included in that. So size and weight really quickly, you can kind of see that it's a pretty nice size knife. It's right sort of in that sweet spot. It's 7 7/8, so just a hair under 8 inches. The blade length here is 3 7/16. Again, just a hair under 3.5 inches. Now, nicely, for a 3.5 inch blade, or basically 3.5 inches, the handle's only 4.5 inches. So the blade to handle ratio here is really well done. And you can see how they've used every bit of that handle. I like that quite a lot. In terms of grip area, again, they've done a nice job. So a smaller knife, but the grip area is 3 3/4 inches, and the weight on this is only 4 ounces. So, there's no internal milling to save weight, but honestly, it's not needed. 4 ounces is completely fine in terms of weight for a pocket knife. So, what are my first impressions on this? My first impression is total win. I'm really, really blown away by this, to the point that I will be, when I finish recording this video, I'll be having a conversation with Steve over at Thunderbird Gear to see about getting one laid away for me in the June offering. And I recorded this whole thing with my background off-centered a little bit. That's okay. I'm going to let it stand because I think the lighting is pretty decent right now. And if I start doing something else, by the time I get back, the lighting may be not that great. So thanks a lot for watching this, guys. Go over to Thunderbird Gear and check it out. Steve is a really nice guy. And of course, he does take care of you with a bunch of some little extras that are always enjoyable. And this knife is truly incredible, guys. This, wow. It's easily comparable to any of the popular high-end models that are out there. You know, if you put this on a table beside like a Holt Spectre and a Grimsmo Rask and a Koenig Arius, maybe a Shamwari, this would hold its own. And in fact, I would take this over all but, yeah, probably almost, I would take it on a par with any one of those for sure. And at the price point, it's going to, it's going to be more desirable than some of them, although I suspect you're going to see similar things with this, where the secondary market's going to go crazy because these are going to be a little bit hard to get. All right, let me give you one more close-up as we sort of part here. Look at that mammoth tooth. Absolutely beautiful. Really, really great work. You guys over at Arno-Bernard have done a fantastic job. And Steve, thanks again for letting me check this out. Absolutely beautiful. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I could go on and just keep looking at this knife, but I've got to cut it off at some point, so that's going to be now. We'll talk to you later.